Hello everyone, my name is Audrey. Welcome to my new Booktube channel. I'm really excited to start and I'm happy you're here. I figured that since this will be my first video that I post, I would do the Booktube Newbie tag. I feel like that's kind of the standard, I guess, and then everyone could get to know me. So I have all my questions written down on my little notebook here, so I'll be looking down at my notebook to read the questions. I also feel really weird staring at myself in the camera, so there we go, I did it again, so yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead, get started, introduce myself, my channel, a little bit what I'm doing here, about what I want to do, all that. So the first question is, why did I start this channel? I've wanted to start a booktube for the longest time, I would say, ever since I started watching Booktube in about 2013, so the last 12 years. But, you know, being a little middle schooler, I did start one, actually, and I would post a video, and then I'd get scared that I would get in trouble for having a video of my middle school self on the internet, so I would delete it. And then I tried again in high school. I've been on off, and I think that I'm finally in the position where, you know, I'm in my own space, I've got the time on my hands, I've got the motivation to do it, I've been reading a lot more, you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and start it. I'm also on my summer break right now, and my boyfriend works all day, so I'm by myself at home pretty much all day, 5 days out of the week. So I've been finding myself really wanting to just sit down and get started and talk about the books that I'm reading, because I've been doing a lot of reading. The second question is, what fun or unique thing do I bring to Booktube? This one's a bit tricky for me, because everything I thought about, I was like, but someone else already does it. And I think that, you know, we all bring our own unique perspectives to Booktube. I suppose, like, I'll have a different perspective than everyone else on certain novels. I will say one thing I thought of was, you know, there's a lot of older booktubers who I watch who are teachers or retired teachers. I'm a teacher, and I haven't seen any of the booktubers who are in their early 20s like I am working in that space. A lot of them are in publishing or in content creating or something along the lines of that. So I guess that could be something that's unique to my experience and what I watch, is that I'm a younger, like, Gen Z teacher, I suppose, and I'm going into my 5th year of teaching, but my first year teaching high school English. So, you know, I suppose that could be something unique that I could bring, is my perspective as a younger Gen Z booktuber who's also a teacher, like my perspective on a lot of the classic literature, because a lot of the books that I'll be teaching this coming year are books that are discussed a lot on the channels that I watch, and it's really interesting to see people's perspectives on that, who were learning and teaching the novel for, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the past however many years, and then myself, who's only read them recently, with someone who grew up in, you know, the 2010s, that my perspective, I don't know. I was going somewhere with that. I feel like I'm in a job interview, almost. It's very funny. The third question is, what am I most excited about? I am most excited about joining the bookish community in a more out there way, you know, not as just a casual watcher, sometimes commenter. I will actually be the person producing the videos and sharing my opinions in a way that other people can engage with, so more directly engaging with the bookish community, rather than being someone who's just going to comment on a couple of videos, or, you know, watch them and like them and then not say anything. So I am really excited about that. I'm also excited to kind of meet and talk to other people who are interested in the same books that I am. I don't have a lot of people in my current out of the screen life that read as avidly as I do, or are reading the same kinds of books, so I'm really excited about that as well. The fourth question is, why do I love reading? You know, I was raised to be someone who loves reading. I am definitely the only person in my family who is an avid reader, but growing up, especially as a young toddler, my parents really emphasized the importance of reading and of an education. I had a huge bookshelf when I was a little girl. My grandma had books all throughout her home as well, so I just always had a book in my hand. I was always reading, whether it be going through a picture book, going through Junie B. Jones, all of those ones that I really loved. That's never really gone away. So I would say it's just something that I've been conditioned to love, or I've been raised to love. So I think that's a good reason. I mean, it's also just something I enjoy doing because I like to learn, and I feel like even if you're not reading a nonfiction novel, you're learning. So it's nice to see that as well. And then the next one is, I kind of touched on this a little bit. What book or series got you into reading? Again, I've been reading my whole life. I would say that the first series that got me really, really into reading chapter books, I suppose, would be Harry Potter. I feel like that's a very, very common one, especially for people in my age range, where it's, you know, everyone grew up reading Harry Potter. They all loved Harry Potter. And then middle school was The Hunger Games, which I will probably be talking about so much. It is my favorite series to this day. The original trilogy and then the 2 released prequels. I've got tattoos for it. Hunger Games really struck me in 5th grade and kicked off. I think that's when I started watching Booktube, actually. So I was looking for videos on the Hunger Games books, and then I got kind of sucked into that the Booktube community. And then I will say, in high school, I did not nearly read anything. I did not read as much because I was, you know, it wasn't just I was going to school and then going home. I was going to school, and then I had, you know, after school clubs. I had a job. College, I kind of fell off on reading even more. So graduating college, I think that the book that really got me back into reading, it would actually be the audiobook of Children of Blood and Bone, because that was just really immersive for me. And I've always been someone who said I didn't like audiobooks, and I feel as though it's because I wasn't listening to the right type. I need an audiobook to be very expressive, doing the different voices, you know, the inflection, just it really depends on the narrator how much I'm going to enjoy the book. And then that's when I realized, I could listen to audiobooks on my way to go teach so that I can get some reading done. And then after that, I just started reading more and more and more. I'm at like book 29 of this year, I think, which I know to some people is like, it's only 29. But for me, after years and years and years of not reading anything and finally really getting into reading really back into reading this past year, it's really important to me. Okay. Okay. So this next question I changed because it was, what questions do I have for the booktubers that I watched? And I truly couldn't think of anything that I wouldn't be able to find an answer to just by watching more of their videos. And so I actually changed it to what have I been watching on Booktube, and then who are my favorite booktubers right now. I've been watching a lot of wrap-up videos or videos on like the current publishing scene, I guess, like current novels that are being published and what reading looks like now in 2025 compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I've been really enjoying videos about that, but I think my hands down favorite are always the wrap-ups because I love seeing what other people are reading. And then the booktubers that I watch the most are my favorite booktubers. I started off watching Poland Bananas books. Christine Riccio, she's an author now. I think, her book is literally right behind me. I started off watching her when I was really young, and she doesn't post anymore. She does a podcast. I don't listen to the podcast, but I do rewatch her videos often. I've been watching a lot of Book Chat with Pat. That's actually what inspired me to start this channel. Is I was like, I would love to, make these videos myself and talk about all of the novels I'm reading. Every single time she uploads, I will watch it. I don't really comment on anything, so yeah. And then I really like to watch Robert G., reader of books. I think he has really interesting commentary on the books that he reads, and they're also very different from what I read, so it's interesting to see perspectives on novels that I would never pick up myself, or that I thought I would never pick up, because then it gives me ideas for, oh, maybe I would enjoy this book, let's read it. He also he had a couple videos about Roman emperors, and prior to becoming a high school English teacher, I taught ancient history, and one of my big units was ancient Rome, so it was nice getting some not inside information, but extra information in books that I could read to build up my knowledge, or learning little fun facts from those videos. And then I believe it's Spivey, Joe Spivey. And the only reason I say that last name, and I'm like, I don't know if it's pronounced correctly, is because I had a student with that last name, and it was pronounced that way, but I'm like, it could be pronounced otherwise. But I really enjoy his videos too. I think he's just really funny. I think he's funny, and I think that the commentary and ideas he has on the novels he reads, again, they're not novels that I would typically pick up, but I really enjoy seeing the things that, or the ideas that these booktubers bring to mind. The next question is, what challenges do I foresee? I think what has been my biggest challenge currently is finding a space, which I think I finally found my space. I don't have a tripod, I don't have fancy materials or anything like that. And I was like, oh, well, I want to be standing up in front of my bookshelf, because I've got 4 huge 7-foot bookshelves, and that didn't work out. And then I was like, well, the lighting looks bad here, the angle looks bad here. So I think finding a spot, and also getting over my need for everything to be perfect. And then I think editing is going to be a challenge for me, which I think is funny, because growing up, I did a lot of video editing. I edited for my one friend's YouTube channel when we were in middle school and high school. I dabbled in like fan edits, stuff like that. And I was not to toot my own horn, but I thought I was pretty good at it. But I think now, because I don't have those programs anymore, and I have a MacBook that lives for 20 minutes and then needs to be connected to the charger at all times, I think editing is going to be a bit of a challenge for me, and finding my style, because starting this, I have told myself I kind of want to be able to just sit down, talk to the camera, and upload. Like, I don't want to have to do a bunch of big edits. But then I have video ideas where I think to myself, well, I would have to edit this, because otherwise this is going to be 3 hours long and a bunch of like me walking around or filler. So I think that would be a challenge, but I think all of those are things that I can easily overcome. I just need to do the thing and learn as you go. The next one is, I already answered that one, just when did I start reading? Ever since I was a little girl. My parents read me multiple picture books a night, so there's no when, I suppose. It's just always been that way. Where do I like to read? I would say I just moved about a month ago into my new home, and my living room is where I'm sitting right now, and I just have an entire wall of shelves. This is one of my living room walls. I really love to read on the couch facing this, because I feel like it gives me that cozy vibe. I also like to read right before I go to bed. I'll just turn on a candle, a little lamp, and I'll sit there and read. Half the time I do end up falling asleep though, which is irritating. Driving, I like to listen to audiobooks a lot. I found that doing household chores is also a lot more bearable when I'm listening to a audiobook. And I would enjoy reading outside, I feel, but I live in a place where you cannot be outside for more than 10 minutes due to the heat. So that's, I would enjoy it when it's cooler outside, at 6 a.m. And, a lot of people say like, oh, I love to read in the coffee shop or the library. And when I'm in a public space, I'm so aware of my surroundings. I can't fully immerse myself in the novel, even if it's dead silent. I'm just like, I cannot immerse myself in this right now because I'm so aware that there are other people around me and having conversations or, you know, just walking around or doing their thing. But because I'm so aware of that and I'm so aware of myself, I just can't ever get myself to fully immerse when I'm there. So really just at home or when I'm driving, or really just at home, I suppose. You know, when I'm driving audiobooks, but you know what I mean. I've got two more. The next one, or second to last one, is what kind of books do I like to read? I am definitely someone who loves fantasy novels. I've always loved fantasy novels. I really, really enjoy those. They're what I tend to gravitate to the most. I'm definitely someone who's a mood reader. So whatever I'm feeling is what I'm going to read. Right now, I've read 3 or 4, maybe 5 books in the last week or so, now that I am on summer break and I have the time. And I found that I was really struggling with being a mood reader. I was like, okay, well then I'm only going to ever want to read these specific books, even though I'm captivated by, you know, this one-off contemporary novel, but it's not fantasy. So I put together my TBR jar right here. My boyfriend and I went through my entire personal library and just wrote down the title of every single book I have not read. You can probably see it's overflowing, and that has helped me a lot because it makes it more exciting to finish a book. Obviously, finishing a book is very exciting, but for me, it's the mystery of, oh, what am I going to read, you know, next? So I've read 2 books of poetry, which I'm going to talk about in my May wrap-up video. I find that I enjoy books like Inside Out and Back Again that are written in poetry, but it's an overarching story more than it's just like an anthology of poems. I find, you know, I enjoy those, but I have to take a lot of time with them, so I can't really get immersed because I like to mark it up. You know, I studied critical reading and writing in college, so I'm someone who, when I'm reading poetry, I've now been trained to dissect the entire thing and find themes and find connections. So I love doing that, but it's not something I can really immerse myself into, but it is something I like to read. I do want to start reading more science fiction. I also am someone who loves to write and create stories in my head, and the big story I've had in my head that I've been wanting to write since, honestly, my second year of college is it would fall into the sci-fi sphere, like sci-fi fantasy sphere. So I want to read more sci-fi so I know how those novels work, so that I can write a more convincing first draft. I honestly will read anything. There's nothing that I don't particularly like. Sometimes when I'm thinking about books that I don't enjoy reading, I think, well, I don't like horror movies, so I don't like horror novels. But then I think about growing up, I was a huge fan of R.L. Stine. I loved the Goosebumps novels, and those are scary. I loved them. What are some of the other horror novels I own? I don't really own many, but I really enjoyed reading spooky riddles, scary stories to tell in the dark. And obviously those are books written for kids and middle grades, but I feel like, you know, I would really enjoy something like that. I think when I say horror, I end up leaning more towards the thrillers is what I truly don't like, because I don't like reading about really graphic things that could happen to me or to someone that I love. I suppose because it makes me feel really anxious and really paranoid when I'm reading them. But I do read thrillers. I read Gone Girl about 6 months ago, and I loved Gone Girl. I was just so captivated by it. But again, it didn't touch up on the things that I would be uncomfortable reading. I also really enjoy YA novels. I think it gives me a hint of nostalgia. Like, this is my YA shelf I'm sitting in front of. I think a lot of those give me a lot of nostalgia. And also, being a high school teacher, it's something that I can read and, you know, be like, oh, I think, you know, my students would really enjoy this novel, or I don't think they would really like that. So really just anything. I enjoy reading anything, is the short version of what I just spewed out for the last 4 minutes. And then finally, what does my book collection look like? Here's a little tiny piece. Like these shelves, yeah, these 4 shelves right here are not full. Every other shelf on these bookshelves is completely full. I own about 200 something books, I would say at this point. I know my TBR bowl has over 100. Because again, I'm just getting myself back into reading, but I never stopped collecting. So I have a more than fairly large. I have a very large book collection, and, you know, I'll probably do a bookshelf tour one day. I just don't want to get up and then move the camera around right now. I feel like I would much rather do a more in-depth bookshelf tour. Like the videos I always watched when I was younger. I loved watching bookshelf tours. But yeah, that's a lot about me and what I like to read, my reading habits, I suppose, the books I like to enjoy. Yeah, so I am hoping to kind of create some sort of posting schedule. I suppose I'm not going to say I won't ever, because I probably will. I hope to have some sort of schedule for myself in mind so that I can keep myself on track. Like, I really love watching weekly wrap-ups. That's probably something that I will do. Monthly wrap-ups, what I want to read in this month, a one-off review sometimes of a novel that I'm reading and I'm really enjoying, stuff like that. So that's kind of my plans for this channel. I haven't come up with a name for it yet. I have a couple ideas, but for now I'm just gonna keep it with my first and middle name, like how it's named right now for when I actually watch stuff. But yeah, hopefully I'll stop saying and like as much as I do as well. But thank you guys for watching. I'm excited to join the Booktube community and continue to share my love of books and talk about what I'm reading. Thanks.